Okay, our next guest says that he sees a lot of growth opportunities in renewable energy, solar in particular, which he thinks will represent the fastest growth in the next few years. Joining us to discuss how to invest in green energy is Vince Gasparro. He is the managing director of the Green Tomorrow Fund. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So before we go into some of the specifics of this, let's talk a little bit about green energy in Canada. Has it taken off? It took off in Europe. They're pulling back a bit on it now. But where does Canada stand in this game?
So Ontario has been a leader in the renewable energy space. The province showed a great deal of leadership in 2008 by creating the Green Energy Act, which basically provides a premium to renewable energy producers, mainly in solar and wind, but also in other areas. And what started as a premium of about 71 cents a kilowatt hour, with the feed-in tariff 1, is now down to about 33 cents a kilowatt hour in the third iteration of the feed-in tariff program.
Mm-hmm. When I think of alternative energy, I always think of subsidies driving really what the flavor is or what the product is, depending on the government and its region.
Sure.
Are there any exciting new technologies that could actually change that equation and make things stand alone and outright profitable projects?
Right. So what we're seeing now with solar, for example, solar itself has hit grid parity. So by 2020, global power output will actually, from solar, will represent about 16%, up from 2% today. So you're seeing a huge growth in solar globally, and a lot of that has to do with the amount of supply that's coming on demand or on stream, but a lot of it has to do with the economies of scale being derived from our solar manufacturers.
Mm-hmm. And so the manufacturers themselves, I think actually you say maybe don't invest so much in the manufacturers, but certainly the developers of solar projects might be an area that you want to go into. So I guess give us a couple of where you think maybe they shouldn't go right now in terms of manufacturers, and who are the developers?
So a lot of the solar manufacturers are actually setting up development arms. So Canadian Solar, for example, they have a development arm. All the solar manufacturers, or a lot of them I should say, are in that particular area because it's high margin business, and a lot of them want to have those revenue generating assets on their balance sheet.
Okay. So what are examples of some of them? That's one, Canadian Solar.
So Canadian Solar is the big one, and there are a lot of private companies as well. So at the Green Tomorrow Fund, we invest in renewable infrastructure projects across Ontario. We've also invested with some solar manufacturers on some solar projects, Eclipsol being one of them. They're actually a solar manufacturer here in Toronto. And this leads me into sort of the point about the benefits of renewable energy and the components for renewable energy. The key is to have, for Ontario to manufacture components that are in demand in the 21st century. That's going to be the job creator here in the province of Ontario. And you're seeing manufacturers actually come here to Toronto, believe it or not, to set up manufacturing facilities. And at the Green Tomorrow Fund, we've joint ventured with some great partners like Eclipsol, and we're seeing the benefits on the ground with strong employment.
And you're seeing, how are the capital flows in terms of attraction to your fund and some of your peer funds?
So the demand is there. A lot of people and institutions see the benefit of linking the environment and the economy. So, for example, a lot of people like obviously the rate of return that renewable energy projects are getting, especially when you have cash flow that's backed by the province of Ontario, and the yield that's generated from those assets. But the fact of the matter is, there is huge demand, not only here in Canada, but globally, for these assets, not only for their revenue generating potential, but also for the benefits that you see socially and within the environment.
I was looking at one of the deals, I think it was done earlier on this week. This is TransAlta Renewables, and they were buying up a whole bunch of wind farms in Wyoming. That's probably another area or way that people can invest. Some of these big companies that are doing a very good job of diversifying.
Absolutely. So Brookfield Renewable Energy Partners is another. I think they're trading at around $27. They have a 5.5% dividend yield. we should see probably some capital appreciation, capital gains into next year. Strong EBITDA growth, great company, great way for retail investors to play the renewable energy angle.
Okay, perfect. This is kind of an out there question, but I remember seeing in the EU-Canada free trade deal that was crafted this year, lots of jobs in green energy apparently are meant to flow from this wonderful trade deal. Where are we going to see that? Is that just Ontario, or is that more of across Canada?
Well, it's funny that you raise that. You know, the Conservative government's going around talking about how the free trade agreement with Europe is going to create about 70,000 jobs. When you look at the Green Energy Act here in just Ontario, the range of jobs being created ranges from somewhere between 35 and 70,000 jobs. So one province, sort of banking on 21st century technologies, 21st century jobs, is actually creating almost the equivalent of a free trade agreement with one of the largest markets in the world. So it's extremely powerful, and this is the power of sort of being on the right side of history, being on the right side of an investment. So it's the province is on the right thing here.
Okay. Well, we'll see where those things all trickle through. Vince, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Vince Gasparro is Managing Director of the Green Tomorrow Fund. Thanks for joining us.